Karma, karma, karma. Karma is a bitch. Karma is your boyfriend.
Karma is a cat.
Karma is a cat. Who the frick is karma?
For generations, women were shamed for trusting themselves, sensing things before they happen, and believing in their own power. No one encouraged them to embrace it until now. Welcome to Trust Yourself.
Someone once told me that they were allergic to commitment, which I thought was hilarious, unless you're the one that they're allergic to. But it immediately made me think of the saying, karma is a bitch. And we all know it. But how much do we really know about karma? If you're like me, probably not much, besides like karma being this thing that's like a cosmic boomerang that punishes people who cut me off in traffic.
You're going to get it, bitch.
But there's actually a lot more to karma than I thought. Turns out that karma isn't just a spiritual slap on the wrist, it's way deeper. And according to numerology, your soul might be carrying around karmic debt from past lives, like emotional student loans.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So today we are breaking down what karma actually means and how those weird patterns in your life might actually be your soul trying to balance out the scales. So we'll talk about karma in general, karmic debt, karmic lessons, and first we're going to start with numerology because to understand karma, I think we need to start with numerology because a lot of it is based in numbers, right?
I mean, the only thing I knew about karma at first too was exactly what you were explaining, just the karma is a bitch and what goes around comes around, until I started learning about numerology and diving into it. And then I realized that there's karmic debt and karmic lessons. And then that got me curious. What the hell is that?
Yeah, that's why doing historical research is important to move forward in our life. So numerology in general, the origins date back thousands of years to ancient civilizations like Egypt, Babylon, China, and Greece. And the system most commonly used today is the Pythagorean numerology. And yes, that's named after the Greek philosopher Pythagoras.
Yay, algebra.
Yes, who is the same person who created the Pythagorean theorem and found the laws of cosines. So yay, we can measure hypotenuse.
And how often do we do that? Well, you probably did as an architect.
Actually, even as an architect, I did not ever use the Pythagorean theorem.
Good to know.
Maybe just in my tests, I think.
Yep.
But yes, we now have calculators. Yay. So Pythagorean numerology is the idea that numbers have mystical and divine properties. So these numbers even carry a unique vibration and a spiritual significance, which Heidi's going to talk about in a little bit. But numerology reduces names, birthdays, and even events down to core numbers 1 through 9. And I think even 11, 22.
Well, master numbers are slightly different, but yeah, we'll get there.
We'll get there. But numerology is often used for self-discovery, like life path analysis and karmic debt and lessons. Okay, so Heidi, why don't you break down then really quickly in a basic sense what those numbers symbolize and represent in numerology?
So in the numerology, if we're just looking at 0 through 9, because we'll reduce all numbers down to those.
And you're reducing them by adding numbers together.
So for example, if you're looking at your life path number, which is kind of what your soul's journey is, you look at your it's just your date of birth, right? So mine is September 4th, 1990. So I do 9 plus 4 plus 1 plus 9 plus 9 plus 0. And then that, let me get my calculator.
Whoops.
Okay, so that's 32. So then you take 32 and then you break it apart. So 3 plus 2 is what? 5. Right? So my life path number is 5. So that's how you kind of reduce it down to the 0 through 9 or the 1 through 9 numbers. But then each of those numbers has a specific, like you said, frequency, which means something different. 0 is the void, but the void is where you can create. And then 1, that is the beginning. That is leadership. It is intuition. It is creation in the sense of creating from the void. 2 is about duality. It could be relationships. It could also be like a push and a pull. It could also mean something about love. There's a lot of different meanings, but the core one is duality. And then 3 is about creation and expression. It's joy, it's abundance. To me, 3s are really happy. So I have a 333 necklace, which reminds me of just to follow my joy, follow my creativity, and express myself. And then 4s are all about structure and stability.
Like if you think about a chair with 4 legs, or
Exactly.
everything's stable.
Yes, that makes a lot of sense. So just think of the 4s as like your foundation, your structure, what you want for stability. So 4s are good for that. And then 5s are all about expansion and growth and change and transformation. There's a lot of change happening with 5s. So I also have a 555 that I wear. I'm a life path 5. So
I think that's so interesting because I love 3s and 5s in architecture or in design because I like asymmetry, and something about it is just so intriguing and creative to me.
well, that makes sense because 3 is creative and then 5 is that expansion. So it's pushing you outside of your comfort zone a little bit.
Yeah, for people like mom who need 2 pillows on each side of a couch. No, this is not right.
God forbid you throw another pillow in the middle. Give her 7 pillows, she'll lose her mind. So 5s, so for me, a life path 5, I like change. I like freedom. I like just doing something different, expansion. And so that's kind of what 5s are about. 6 is all about balance, harmony, love, responsibility, family, that sort of vibe. And 7s are all about intuition, inner wisdom, growing intellectually. And 8 is power, but also money. It can be materialistic things, or it can be, power in a sense of following your power. So each number kind of has a light and a dark, but we're not going into that. But just so you know, 8 is about power, but it's also karmic cycles. So if you look at an 8, it's a figure 8 is an infinity symbol. So it's also representing infinity, the universe, everything like that. And then 9 is completion. So this is you've completed a cycle, or it's just the end. So every time that you have, you're looking at the numerology, it'll always be 1 through 9, and then it'll start over again at a 1. So
9 is just about ending. But what if that's your life path and it's about a completion? What does that mean?
So mom is a life path 9, and your daughter Nora is a life path 9. And the 9s are actually humanitarian. So the humanitarians are the ones that are kind of guiding and helping these other souls. So they've kind of gone through all of this, and
So they've had a lot of lives, you're saying?
perhaps, yes, perhaps. And of course, I've looked at mom's numerology too, and it is intriguing that she doesn't have any karmic debt. So it tells me that either A, she's a new starseed, which I don't think she is, and then B, she's cleared her karmic debt in a past life, but now she's just working on her karmic lessons. So then there's also master numbers, which are numbers that they don't reduce. So if you have 11 in your chart, which for you, November 11s, that doesn't break down. So you're not going to put that to 1 + 1 is 2. So it's 11. So your actual life path is an 11 master builder number. So that is you create.
Makes sense for an architect.
Right? I know. How cliche.
Oh, wait, I thought I was a 22.
Oh, you're right. I think Frankie is. You're 22. Yep. So let me read what. Number 22 is considered the most powerful number in numerology. Carries the biggest potential for great deeds in both the material and spiritual world. When describing number 22, a few numbers should be observed first. Number 4, which gives stable base. Number 2, which gives flexibility to the base. And finally, number 22, which represents the connection of the previous 2 numbers.
That sounds like a lot of pressure.
Yeah. So that's you creating all these beautiful things because that's what you did in architecture. But now it's like you're creating from the soul. So you have this inner knowing, you're following your intuition and creating something beautiful. So that's what I love about your master number.
Okay, so master numbers, you said 11, 22, and was there another
11, 22, and 33, I think, are the 3 master numbers. And I am not a numerology expert.
We'll get a numerologist on here sometime.
Right. I mean, I feel like I've just kind of dove into numerology, reading about it and then hearing about it. And then I downloaded this app called Numerology, real simple. And it tells you all of the things. So that's really where I'm learning. I'm learning through this app. I'm learning through reading. I haven't mastered all the numbers yet, but I figured out how, once you learn the basics, you can kind of start to build from there.
That's going to help us with our foundation now that we are going to dive into karmic debt and karmic lessons. So Heidi, who the frick is karma? What's karmic debt? And why do I need to know this?
And why does it feel so scary?
Yeah.
You know how people think I must have really fucked up in a past life, right?
Yes.
That's how I felt. I felt like it was almost this like karmic sin or this it's karmic debt. So it just feels like this heavy burden, like, wow, I really must have been a complete asshole in a past life. And what I've realized through my own sort of meditation and free writing, journaling, and also learning as much as I can through reading about what karmic debt is and what karma is, the easiest way that I break it down is karma is just the outcome of a choice that we made. And it's neutral. Because if you think of it like, okay, how often are there dishes stacked up in your kitchen?
All of the time. I mean,
so
right now.
Right. Yeah. Right now, there's dishes stacked up in my kitchen. And when I look at the dishes, I can get frustrated and I can be like, ugh, why didn't I do these dishes earlier? But then I think back to that previous me or that earlier me earlier in the day, or maybe it was yesterday. And I had a choice. Okay. I washed the dishes right after dinner, or I had to do something else, put the kids to bed, whatever it was. And so the choice that I made was to do the other thing and not do the dishes. It doesn't make it right or wrong. It's just a choice. And so now I'm just facing the consequences of my choice. So I feel like it's very neutral, but karmic debt is I liked the analogy of repaying student loans, right? So maybe with your karmic debt, you made choices that kind of favored you a lot or favored how you were in that moment. It was just kind of an imbalance of the favor, right? So
you're using the credit card a lot and you're not really paying it off.
I think that's a really good analogy. And it's not paying off in like a negative sense, because even when we were like, even just comparing it to money or debt feels so negative. But if I can just look at it super subjectively and I just use the dish analogy, helps me to realize that even if you made these choices in the past, they were not right or wrong. They were just the choices that you made in that moment. And so maybe in a past life, you abused your freedom, or you abused your power, or you abused your love, something like that. And it's not even abuse, it's just misuse. And maybe it's at the cost of other people, but either way, it's just at an imbalance. But the choice that you made was never a wrong choice. But now in this lifetime, we're just repaying that debt. We're just shifting the energy again. We're rebalancing everything, putting everything back into harmony.
Okay. All right. So now what's the difference? What's the difference between karmic debt and karmic lessons?
It's really just the intensity. So a karmic debt is just a bigger imbalance that you have to repay. And karmic lessons, they are like electives that your soul selected for this lifetime. Like they wanted to learn more about it. Like, I want to learn more about how I can receive and not feel shame, or how I can balance freedom with control.
What are some of the actual karmic debts that we can have? Because I know you've got specific numbers and they each mean something.
They do.
So there's only a certain number of karmic debts we can actually have.
Yes, I do know that there are 4 karmic debts that you can have. So the first one is a 13/4, which is like lazy discipline, right? So the core wound for this karmic debt is misuse of hard work or avoiding responsibility. And the lesson for that karmic debt is learning discipline, structure, and perseverance. And some of the things that people would experience if you have a karmic debt of 13/4 is procrastination, feeling stuck, and avoiding routine. So like all of these things are very much me as well, but this is actually not one of my karmic debts, but it is one of my karmic lessons. So it's almost like a lesser version of this. But for healing that karmic debt, the path to healing would be building strong foundations, following through even when it's hard, breaking the shortcuts pattern, which is really, really hard to do. If you're used to just taking the shortcut, easy route, that would be yours. So that's 13/4. Okay,
what are the others?
The second one is 14/5, which is addictive freedom. Hey, that's me. So this is on my life path. So it's in absolutely everything that I do. And this one is, the core wound is abuse of freedom and excess impulsivity. And basically when I was reading about like what this would look like in a past life, it was, well, you abused your freedom. You were just super impulsive. You indulged in things. Maybe you indulged in like, what was it? It was like money, sex, and alcohol. I was like, okay, I could probably see that. So my lesson is balancing freedom with responsibility. And this seeps into every corner of my life. And I realize it now that I can see this, I see the patterns everywhere. So the symptoms of this addictive freedom: restlessness, overindulgent, scattered energy, instability in relationships, or money. Yes, 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 and yes for me on all of those. So, so the healing path for this one is to master your energy and create structure that supports freedom and avoid escapism prism, right? So for me, structure felt so rigid and felt so boxed in. But now I am creating a structure, a platform for myself to basically stand on, but still feel free. So it's a work in progress, but it feels better now. So I feel like I'm on the path to healing. So the next one is 16-7. It's ego collapse. And that core wound is a spiritual arrogance or misuse of power.
Ooh.
You know, political leaders come to mind.
Yes.
I looked it up, and there's a certain politician who may have this karmic debt.
He who shall not be named. I mean, honestly, I doubt it's just him. I bet almost 90% of the politicians have that karmic debt or will in their next life.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. So like they need their ego to collapse, but there are those who are going to resist it. And then I feel like those who resist it, who have this karmic debt of 16-7, then will go into the fourth karmic debt of 19-1, which I'll get to in just a second. I'll just finish this one real quick. So the ego collapse, the lesson that they need to do is surrender their ego, embrace spiritual awakenings. And the symptoms that they have is a sudden upheaval, aka lots of tower moments, just crumbling your life apart, identity crisis, fear of vulnerability, needing to control. And then the healing path is humility, inner healing, spiritual devotion, and trusting in a higher guidance, not trying to be so rigid and strict, right?
Yeah, or think that you have to have all the answers. Like you can just follow your gut and that's okay.
Absolutely. So that's 16-7. And then I feel like if that doesn't get healed and you stay in that ego world, maybe you develop into this 19-1 karmic debt, which is selfish leadership. And this one also, you can think of some politicians, I'm sure. So the core wound for this one is manipulating others for personal gain, misuse of authority. And the lesson that they need to learn is to lead with integrity and selflessness. And the symptoms of this are isolation, fear of asking for help, people pleasing, or hyper independence. So again, it's those two extremes of like, you're either people pleasing or you're like, I'm super independent, I'm gonna do everything by myself. And then for them, the healing path looks like authentic leadership, collaboration, vulnerability, and mutual empowerment. So those are the 4 karmic debts. And if you want to look on the numerology app, look up your own karmic debt or your own karmic lessons. The app is really great. I don't remember if I paid anything for it, but if I did, it was just one of those one-time things. And it's just got a chock full of information. It's really, really detailed, in depth. So,
and to find out your karmic debt, what it is, you can't really, it's a lot of math, right? Or do you have to kind of use the app to figure it out?
No, I don't think you have to use the app. I'm sure if you know the formula, I don't have it memorized, but like life path I can figure out because I know it's just your birthday broken down. But the rest, I would just defer to an app.
Okay, so then the karmic lessons that are the electives.
Electives,
right?
Yes.
What are those lessons? I think there's more than just 4, right?
There is. Okay, so this is what ChatGPT says karmic lessons are. I kind of like this analogy because I love analogies. It says, think of karmic lessons as gaps in your soul's toolbox. So skills or qualities that you're meant to master in this lifetime through experience. So it tells you how to find them, but that's a lot of Pythagorean theorems I'm not doing.
A squared plus B squared equals C squared.
Is that actually the Pythagorean theorem? It's something. I know that's something. Look at you whipping out Pythagorean. Anyways, so the karmic lessons are tied to those numbers in numerology. 1 is going to be about leadership, confidence, independence. So you learn to stand in your own power and take initiative. Where 2 is about patience, cooperation, sensitivity, learning to listen, compromise, and harmonize. Karmic lesson number 3, I have this one as well. So self-expression, joy, and creativity, learning to speak up, express feelings, and embrace joy.
Speak your truth.
Speak your truth. Weird. That's why we have a podcast.
Oh, weird.
We're doing it. We're healing our karma every time we record. And then number 4, discipline, responsibility, order, learning to build systems and follow through. Karmic lesson number 5, freedom, change, and experience, learning to embrace change responsibly. This is definitely, it's one of my karmic lessons, but it's also my karmic debt. So I like really need to be responsible with my freedom, I guess.
No more fucking around, Heidi.
Oh, I think I'm moving to Dublin though. So let's go be free. Anyways, 6. 6 is responsibility, service, and love. So learning to nurture without overgiving or controlling.
Ooh. So do all women have this one?
Probably, honestly, probably.
Balancing care for others versus for yourself.
Yes. Okay. Complete side note. I just heard this in a book that I'm reading, well, Audible, that women who don't nurture themselves, who overgive and they don't nurture themselves, are more susceptible to breast cancer.
Oh, I've heard that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to start taking care of myself.
Right? You should. Mom had breast cancer, but she's also very much an overgiver and doesn't receive well. So, yeah, just keep that in your back pocket, ladies. And then number 7, trust inner wisdom, spiritual depth. So learning to trust your intuition and look beneath the surface. Number 8 is power, money, and authority. Learning to handle power and finances wisely.
Ooh, more politicians.
Actually, I'm pretty sure one of your kids has that one too.
Son of a bitch.
And then 9 is compassion, forgiveness, and letting go. Learning to release control and serve the greater good.
Aww.
So go learn your lessons.
Yeah. So basically, like every time I'm triggered, it's probably a karmic lesson just smacking me in the face, right?
Yeah,
Like,
probably.
okay. So then do we all have karmic debt and lessons? And can you have 0 karmic debt or 0 lessons? And what does that mean?
Yes, you can have 0 karmic debt because my husband's one of them.
That's crazy.
It frustrates me.
Not fair.
I know. But also mom has 0 karmic debt as well. What I've kind of learned or gleaned from my research about it and everything too is just because you have no karmic debt, it doesn't mean your life is easy at all.
Yeah.
It just means that your soul has either cleared karmic debt in a past life or you're a starseed. It's your first time here and you're just learning. You're here on Earth School for the first time.
So if you've cleared it before, are you just here for another free ride? Like, hey, just want to check it out.
I may or may not have asked ChatGPT that exact question.
What'd they say?
So it was actually really beautiful. Because I was pissed that my husband has no karmic debt and I do. And so I was like, well, so what? He just has like a free ride. He's having fun this lifetime. But it actually says when you have no karmic debt, you actually could have a more intense life in terms of now you are the one holding the mirror for others to heal their karmic debt. And they're almost like the shepherds kind of helping other people through the journey of learning how to heal and transmute that karmic debt. So even though I'm jealous that my husband doesn't have any, maybe his role in this lifetime is to help me transmute mine. And so that's kind of a bigger debt if I were to have any say in that, because I feel like I have a lot of baggage to
say, Kent, that's a heavy burden to carry, mister.
Yeah. And, same for mom, right? So
Yeah.
she doesn't have any, but she's still got her karmic lessons. And Kent still has karmic lessons as well, too. I don't know if people can have nothing. I don't remember exactly how that's calculated because, again, not an expert. But yeah, I was really curious about how you can live with no karmic debt and what that would mean. But I also, this is just my own curiosity here, and I'd love to hear what you think too, Sissy. But if you come to this lifetime with no karmic debt, do you think you can accumulate karmic debt in this lifetime and then next lifetime you have karmic debt again?
Absolutely. I feel like it. I totally
Right?
feel like you can. These choices that I make now are not always aligned. So I don't know.
We talk about awakenings a lot too, about people having like spiritual awakenings where they're kind of learning how to get in alignment with themselves. And I feel like those who have these awakenings are the ones who are starting to heal. And maybe you go a whole lifetime without an awakening. I don't think you have to have an awakening in every single lifetime. And it's just interesting. I don't know. I just like to think about that and think about how, maybe in a past life you had this beautiful awakening or you were some monk. And then in this lifetime, you're like, I'm not going to do anything. Like, I'm just going to sit here and do nothing.
To be honest, it kind of gives me anxiety because it reminds me of when you have a blank piece of paper and you're like, okay, start over, draw whatever you want. And then you're like, what the frick do I draw? I'm going to mess up.
Yep.
Okay, so if our listener does find out what their karmic debt or their karmic lesson is, and they're like, holy shit, I've got a ton of these, or maybe just a couple, how do they go through the steps to start to heal it?
Honestly, I'm doing it right now too. And I think acknowledging it, knowing about it is the first step, because once I've realized what it is actually, like once I kind of know what that is, I see it in a lot of places that I wouldn't normally expect to see it or even notice it. And I realize like how much I take advantage of. Sometimes I'm taking advantage of other people for my own freedom, but I'm doing it so unconsciously that I don't even realize that I'm maybe not hurting the other person, but I'm definitely taking more from them than I'm giving.
So first, name it to tame it.
Name it to tame
sort
it.
of thing. When you know your karmic pattern, you can stop taking it personally and remembering this is just our soul school. So, okay, this is my lesson. I'm learning for myself.
So once you've named it, you've tamed it. And then the second step is then observation without shame, right?
That's huge.
You can observe what you did, your action, whatever it was, but don't feel shame about it. Don't immediately go into guilt mode like, oh, I did it again. Fuck.
Yeah.
So, because I mean, that's definitely what I did in the beginning too. But once I realized it, it's like, okay, no, it's fine. I realize this. I'm observing it. Now, what's one small micro action that I can take to maybe go in a different direction?
Okay, you're aware of this, and then you say, oh, this is just my 13.4 showing up, or my 14.5, or whatever you have.
Yeah.
And then starting to choose differently on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So if you do have that 13.4, maybe let something be unfinished. Take a break. Delegate to someone else.
One of the things that I've started saying to myself, it's like become my new mantra, is with every choice you make, choose the one that will make your future self proud. Because even future self could be like you tomorrow, or you 5 years from now, or in a future lifetime. Like future self could be anything. So just setting yourself up for these like little wins and making future self proud.
I'm glad we talked about this, Heidi, because for so long, I've always hated the word karma and karmic debt. I just am like, ugh, it scares me. But I like knowing that these are being seen more as like karmic patterns that aren't flaws. They're just feedback from your soul on how we can grow. And we're not broken. We're just being asked to grow in a specific direction that we chose, right? 'Cause
Exactly.
we have free will.
We chose
So,
it
hello.
before we came here, signed our soul contracts.
Bitch, what was I thinking?
Right? I want to go back to that when I was signing that and change my mind. Well, good. I hope this resonated. And
Yeah. And if you're listening to this podcast, maybe you're already starting to heal. You're saying, hey, let's do things differently this time with intention.
exactly.
So I would say go ahead and intentionally follow us for more. Hit subscribe if you liked this. Thank you. And then share this with a friend. Share this with someone that you think needs to hear this. All right, so now I'm super excited. It is time for the Trust Your Tarot segment with Heidi, pulling her tarot cards for the week. Each week, she's going to pull some cards and she's going to let us know what to expect and what our energy is telling us that we need.
You missed it. I just did the bridge. I've been working on doing a
she's
bridge
so
for
proud of
so long. I can't do a bridge, but I just did it. Anyways.
If you're not watching on YouTube and you're just listening, hopefully it sounded really sexy for you.
It was so good. Ooh, that flew. I don't know if that got on camera or not. 2 of them. 9 of acorns. Ooh, the panther. Rawr. Power and perseverance. So
Ooh.
to heal karma, you're going to need to find your inner power and you're going to need to persevere. Persevere. And then, and this makes sense. And then I got 5 of crystals, which is the ladybug, and it says persistence and new possibilities. And ladybugs also represent good luck. But these 2 together, it's like your inner power and your panther. And then the ladybug is the new beginning. So once you kind of heal your karmic debt and your karmic lessons, you're going to just persevere and you're going to have new possibilities.
That's awesome.
Woo.
Yay.
Let's go.
Let's go ahead with persistence and possibilities.
I love it. Let's go heal.
Until next time, it's your move, sis.
Make it count.
Bye.